Welcome, and I thought I'd sort of do a different style of illustration actually today, just for the start of the channel. I think I'm just trying to find a way to do fairly quick sort of sketches. I've tried a few different things using like blocking in tones, which I'm not very good at. So like whenever I don't record doing those, they look good, but whenever I do it and try to record it, they look like crap, and it takes too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a scene from the current Dwarf Fortress playthrough. This is going to be episode 41, about 6 minutes in. It's this Kaven smashing into a one of the undead. So I'm just going to do this as a fairly rough and ready sort of sketch, and I'm just going to put down like as if it's a bit of a parchment, I guess, as a bit of a background, just with a bit of a watercolor wash. So it's going to look a bit crappy, but so be it. So sort of get like a bit of a rough background in. Might just get a bit more sort of tone in different areas, because this is just going to be literally a black and white type sort of sketch. I want to try to get this done sort of under an hour. See how I can go with it, see if it sort of looks any good. May look like shit, I don't know. We'll see. So I'm just literally just going to put like a sort of like a rough sort of splotchy bone coloured background down, as if it's sort of parchment almost. And I'll just get some darker areas into it as well, just around the edges. There we are. Okay, so that'll probably do. It's a bit pale in different areas. Just wonder if I don't add in an adjustment layer. If I can remember how to do this. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? I don't know if it's got adjustment layers. I thought it did have. New correction layer. There we go. Brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, luminosity. That sounds pretty good. So let's up the saturation a little bit and decrease the brightness a little bit. Just tweak those till we get the sort of feel that I'm looking for. I'm wanting something fairly deep, like that. All right, so that's before, after. Okay, so that's going to be their base. Let's now sketch in with pencil where we want to now head with stuff. So I'm just going to go across to my pencils, get the rough pencil. Just going to do this in sort of like a bluey grey. Now what I want to do with this is I really want to have, see how it looks zoomed in, that's okay. So what I want to do is I want to have Kaven smashing into one of the undead. There's an undead spearman, an elvish spearman that Kaven smashes into. So I'm just going to sort of block in the basic sort of shapes. This is going to be Kaven's face. I'm going to have a line of action sort of running through his neck. So the neck is going to sort of extend down this way. I want to have his shoulder sort of hunched up. So his shoulders are sort of going to do this. So his other shoulder is going to be over here somewhere. And then his hands are going to be brought in around his body, holding a shield. Now I don't know if he's got a shield on or not, to be honest. So that's going to be sort of where he is. So he's going to be tucked into his actual body. So his body is going to be sort of like hunched over in that sort of, like the rib cage is going to go like this. Then down, and then the hips are going to be once again also driving in that sort of angle. And that means his other leg is going to be up. His knee would sort of end up being around there somewhere, and then sort of coming on down through. And then his other arm. Now he's actually wielding a silver warhammer, so I'm going to have the hammer coming back into the illustration, probably over the top of his over the top there like this. So that's going to be sort of like Kaven. Now I've got to think about what I do with his head. Now if you're smashing in, you're going to be actually spinning your head in even more on the angle. So I'm going to, by doing this, let's actually have his head in that sort of angle. Now we're not going to see his mouth as much as what I would want to in that sort of instance. He doesn't wear much armour. He's, as I said, I'm not even sure about the shield. So let's just put the shield in, because I'm not 100% sure. And then we're going to have the goblin, oh not the goblin, the elvish undead is being sort of smacked sideways. So he's actually collecting the elvish spearman. The elvish spearman is, so I don't know whether to, I think I might do the spearman's arm sort of up into that area. And we'll make him right-handed, and then have his spear coming across the whole action, coming in this way. So that would then sort of bring the spear would then sort of come up in this sort of angle across the front. Actually, that doesn't look too bad as a composition. And then his body parts would sort of be coming after that. I'll probably sort of put them in at the end. Right, so now we have to think about what we do with this guy's face. Now, because he's being knocked back, it's almost like we probably want to have his head actually being rolled back as well, and being sort of maybe his jaws being collected by the edge of the shield. So do it in that sort of angle. And start to sort of block in different things. And because he's going to be skeletal or skeletal, depending on what you've learned. I learnt skeletal. I've had this argument before. I can't stop saying skeletal. Sorry, it's that I know that most of you actually say skeletal. I think skeletal is more correct based on what was actually sort of said. Let's just create some sort of armor that's sort of coming through from the skeleton, from the skeletal skeleton. It's going to be hard to sort of show that this guy's an elf, but he is an elf. I can sort of do anything I like as far as getting shapes and things into this. I can sort of go a little bit crazy with the armor, particularly on the skeleton, because I don't have any. Well, there is a description of it which I could have read, but I didn't. And as I say, I really just want to. We're 10 minutes in now, and I haven't started sort of drawing. And what I want to do with this is literally just do sort of like a very sketchy pen and ink sort of style illustration. And then sort of just almost continue on what I'm doing here with this sort of sketching. Now, he wears a hood. Let's give him some braided beards. And do that one through there. It's probably a little bit too strong, really, for a bit too muscular for what we need. Because the vampires tend to be quite thin in from what I've sort of seen anyway. Once again, I didn't look at the at what we actually had for this guy. All right, so this is going to be the sketch. Let's just move that one back a little bit, and I'm going to create a new layer and start actually just drawing in really fast. So I'm putting in a vector layer. If you've got Clip Studio, you'll be able to look at that. I just want to get in my own brushes. I actually have my own little G pen set up, which is pretty much the stock standard. In fact, what I'm just going to do with the pen here in my layer properties is just make this grayscale and only black, so that that's going to be the actual shape. So let's now just start to almost rough in. I sort of want this to be fairly rough and sort of sketchy. So it's not going to be sort of like what I would typically draw. I want to try to sort of capture as more the feel of what's actually going on than the actual reality of it. So it's just going to be a line illustration, really. Actually, just jittering the pen as I draw. And by making it sort of a bit jittery, I can then sort of just get the semblance of detail into things without actually needing to put too much in. Like it's the line work should actually carry a lot of this. Or even the lack of line work to a degree. Just have some bindings, perhaps at this sort of back end of the spear itself. So I can make it sort of fairly rough and ready. So once again, episode 41, about 6 minutes in, Kaven smashes into an undead elvish spearman. So I want this to be almost rough, like it's in its application, and more hint at what's going on than actually draw. So I don't even really know what I'm drawing at the moment. I'm just going to basically just draw in plates. I would normally flesh this out even more, like into a more detailed pencil sort of sketch at this point in time. But I'm going to just let it do what it wants to do, which I feel quite comfortable working with like pen. Like it's sort of something that I've always done. I'm actually colorblind, so I quite like just doing black and white type work, and yeah, it's something that I have always enjoyed, just doing black and white ever since I was a little kid. And by sort of making it fairly rough in areas and almost doing sort of scribbles where there's going to be black, you can actually you can get some quite interesting sort of effects, like in these sorts of areas, just painting in the black. Now we've got the edge of the shield that's going to sort of be popping out over the top over here, and then connecting with the jawline. black when I come back into it. The other thing I like about doing this is that I don't have to start anywhere in particular. I can sort of pretty much, now that I've got my basic sort of sketch underneath there, I can pretty much take this on wherever I actually feel like it now. I'm sort of in what's going through my head right at this point in time is what I need to do as far as the like I'm imagining that this is going to be mainly black in through this area. Of course, if I make a mistake with things, I'm going to have to be pretty careful with it. Actually, I don't want to do too much cross-hatching if I can help it as well. Alright, so I think we're now ready to zoom in a little bit and start working on the faces, which is probably the most important thing really. Sort of imagining that there'd be sort of half flesh, half skeleton sort of stuff coming through here. Probably should have done more pencil in through this region, I think. This could go any old way. But you only live once. So by not putting colour in, which I've sort of put colour in nearly everything I've done online, as I say, I quite just like black and white. So I'll probably be able to sort of do a bit more of this sort of work. Anyway, you know, like just because I can sort of churn out a bit more if it's just going to be purely sort of sketchy type stuff, which I think would. What I'm trying to do, and I've sort of already missed the boat with it a bit, I'm trying to make it look fairly 1900s, if that makes sort of sense, like as if you'd sort of see like an illustration in an old book. But I think I've probably already screwed that up a little bit. I don't know what I'm drawing here. Some sort of detail in the helm of the undead. The thing I like about drawing is that without even knowing what you're doing, you can sort of still get like little pleasant surprises. Like I quite like this helm, you know, like it's actually it's come together reasonably well. There's areas in it that I probably, if I was redrawing it, I'd do it a little bit differently. But overall, it's getting there. It gives the impression of an undead anyway, I think. How are we going for time? 20 minutes in. That's not bad, actually. For 20 minutes in, that's... Just get some depth in there. Yeah, that's got a good feel. Just do sort of scribble lines in different areas. It's funny actually that like when they used to do etching, it was all sort of straight lines, but then by the 1900s they were like the things that you sort of see in newspapers were then much more scribbles than straight lines. They weren't scribbles as such, but they would not actually do the hatching, which I'm sort of just drawing in there. So I'm sort of doing a bit of a mishmash of the two different sorts of styles. All right, so that's that part of the like the foreground part, I guess, of the undead. Let's just continue this on down. So now I've got the main character. I've got Kaven, the vampire. It's funny, sort of doing characters sort of looking down on their faces. It's often quite hard to actually get them looking half reasonable. So I may screw this up. Unfortunately, when you're doing this sort of work as well, it's hard to then come back and undo stuff. I don't want to put too much detail into his face just yet until I'm actually happy with it. In my head I'm thinking this is when I should be flipping the everything around, which I'm going to do, and just sort of see how the shapes are sort of looking. So it's okay. It's a little bit distorted around his head, but that'll be all right. Yeah, with his beard, I'm trying to just sort of think of the ways that the shapes should sort of work as far as just the shadowing underneath tufts of hair at the end with some sort of twine on the edge of these, but then still sort of keep like a bit of a braided sort of feel without putting too much work into the actual shape of the hair itself. And then of course hair is actually really quite lustrous, so you end up with some real highlights. We've got the other side as well. Sort of shadowing underneath some of this, which we don't really know where that's all going to go just yet. Let's just colour this in a bit more. Get a bit more of the drama between the faces happening. It's funny, the Undead guy was actually much easier to draw because I could do anything I liked with his armour. But I've got to actually be a little bit more careful with the shapes. I guess I don't actually. I could just sort of do anything I like really, and through here I can sort of tweak the whatever's going to actually happen with his gauntlets. So who's to know what they're really like? All we know is that they'd be fairly ragged because he's I don't think he's had a chance to really sort of change into good sort of stuff really. So I can sort of put a bit of detail in there. How sort of to illustrate the chain, maybe just sort of rough in some sort of curves in there. Alright, let's get the hammer now. Once again, I can sort of just tweak, do all sorts of weird and wonderful little stupid things at the start, and then just sort of see where it all ends up. I've got my basic sort of shapes that do need to be in there, so I'll pop those in. And just try to sort of emulate from the other side. Flick it back again. It's not too bad. And there goes the dogs again. Sounds like there's someone in the court, maybe. They're good watchdogs, actually. They certainly let you know when there's someone around. No, there's another dog in the court. When they start howling like that, it's come over and visit. Don't know if you can hear it. They're miles away from where I am. It's not that late anymore, so not that early. Sorry, so it's sort of acceptable for them to do it for a little while. So I'll let them go. Yeah, they are funny actually. When there's any other dog around, they really want to just socialise. Okay, so we've got all sorts of chain and stuff that's going to be over here, but it's all going to be in shadow, all of this little portion of it, so I can sort of pretty much just get away with a lot of stuff just being pretty much pure black. So I've really just got to focus, I guess at this stage, more on the on what's not going to be black, and so it's going to be pretty much just this area in through here. I can even start to scribble in like almost sort of like sketchy sort of stuff, I think, and almost get away with it because it's not really the focal point. How are we going for time? We're half an hour in, so that's not too bad. So I can sort of do stuff that's unfinished, really. And all I'm now really trying to do is just promote the strong lines of things that that are important. Like, for example, the hammer is important, so I need to get a little bit of sort of something around the hammer just so that it actually looks okay. And the spear is very important as well, so I need to protect that line and just enhance its transition up through the thing itself. Put little scribble details in, and you won't even look at that because the focal point is, of course, the face. One thing I do need to do is zoom in back into the face here and just now start to work a little bit in through here. Of course, he's a vampire, so just get some sharp teeth into the mouth. The angle of his face has not really been great for sort of making the face sort of stand out. Scribble in different bits and pieces up in there. Just trying to get the as if there's light hitting more from the side than from below. Not going to help, no. Let's get rid of those. And the other thing I can do is create a mask for this particular layer, if I can remember how to do it. Create a layer mask, and I can then just paint on the layer mask, I think, as well. So if I use white, is that going to help, or is it this one? It's this one. So what I can do is then just come through and make things, for example, like the spear, have a bit more dominance. Use thumb as well. And the silver hammer as well, I think could do with a bit of that. So what I've done for this is just used literally a layer mask, just to get a little bit more action into these areas, and sort of just reverse out some of the hatching that's actually around here. So I can sort of do that across the board, really, like anywhere where I think it needs to have a little bit of definition, I can pop that in. Bits of flesh sort of hanging together through there. Alright, so we've now just got the last little bit to do over here, which is going to be the hand. that. Here we are. So there we go, there's Kaven. Might just put a whole batch more just little lines and things just to sort of cover up where I've been lazy. Get rid of the pencil from underneath. What I might just do as well with this is just put in a little colour underneath the actual illustration itself. I don't want to do too much more than this. We've been out 40 minutes. Let's just put a bit of a wash in, I think. So I'm just going to go back to my watercolour brushes. Just grab this one and what colour? Just make it a bit darker of the base colour that we actually had. Is that too much? Probably is. I'll pop it in and then we'll have a bit of a look. I can always just change the colour once I've got it in there. Just put in a little bit more watercolory type stuff just to make it look a bit dirtier as well. And I might just put back in a little bit of pale, just in areas. To get the story. Okay. Alright, so fairly rough and ready, and let's just try an overlay, see how that works. Nope, that's too much. Multiply. It's not too bad actually, the multiply, and then I can just change the opacity to sort of get it to where I feel like it should be, or do I just go back to normal? Yeah, maybe just normal. So for you guys, that should be about the middle for the illustration. I might just even just draw in another layer. I'll just paint it in so just so we can know exactly what it is. Because I still don't know whether I'm going to make this into a time lapse. Just keep it. In fact, we're now at 47 minutes, so it's going to be less than an hour. So I probably actually will just put this up as a full illustration, just in case you're interested. In fact, I might do both. No, that's not going to look any good. Go with a bubble pen. Pens. Okay, so I've got a leaky pen. Don't know if we even need this. Don't know if I need it actually. I think it's better without it, unless I make it really, really soft. Actually, that's not too bad. Makes it look like it's just part of the background then. All right, so I think we're done. I'll come back and sort of obviously look at it at some point and think, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. But I think that's got enough just to tell the story. So less than an hour, that was good. That's about the time that I would be, probably even faster if I can get these sorts of illustrations done a bit quicker. That would be cool as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Yeah, welcome to the new channel. This is going to be, of course, the first one up. First of the real ones up anyway. So yeah, and that's, normally I would be doing time lapse, but I'll probably do a few more like this where I just do the full thing and put it on this channel, and I might even think about putting a time lapse across onto the other channel. Not sure yet. Anyway, thanks for watching. Join us next time.